Hard Hat's all about showing up to play hard, doing what it takes to win.
If you want to cement legacy, win another.
He's your third center.
You don't want to pump him up too much, but it's hard not to.
This is maybe the most I've ever agreed with you.
Yeah. We're back. The Hard Hat is back. It's been away for a while, John. I thought about it. I said, is it a Hard Hat game? Is it not a Hard Hat game? It was a Hard Hat fourth quarter, and that's why the Hard Hat's on. At the end of the day, the Celtics did do absolutely what they needed to do in that fourth quarter to make that unbelievable comeback. Was it 26 points? 26 points they were down at one point in this game. Got it to, 14? And then just Jason Tatum led the charge back. One of his best quarters of the season, doing it all out there. And this is a Hard Hat game, folks. Hard hats, lunch pails, steel toe boots. I can never say that, but it is. And I know that, John, this is probably the worst win of the year for you. You are smiling, but there's a lot of pain behind that smile right now. You did not want the Celtics to pull this.
It's not about what I want. It's not about what I want.
It's always about what you want.
It's not. No, Jimmy. Like I said, I liked last year better. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like the yo-yoing.
This year's making you feel things that you don't.
I don't like I don't like the yo-yo. I want to pick a stance and stay with it. I don't like the back and forth. Here's what I'll say on the positive side. It's impossible not to like what you saw late. And there's a glimpse that was a flash of last year's Celtics. And that's what it felt. That's what it felt like all the time. All the time. And so it just felt good, right? I was like, oh,
just do this every time.
Remember when they played? Yeah, I did say that. and I did switch. And I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You switched.
Thanks, Amit.
You got him back.
So I felt warm and fuzzy and safe. And, I was like, oh, the Celtics, when they move the ball around and then everyone hits threes and then the guards play up in your face defense and then Tatum's making defensive plays and all of that stuff. And it was great. And that's what it felt.
Here's something you've never been able to do. Yeah. Enjoy the ride. Relax. Go with it.
First of all, there is nothing enjoyable about the ride this year. Nothing.
No.
But I like stories and I'm a merchant of chaos. I like it. Like, it's fun to talk about, but doing these shows is so stressed, like going in and out and, oh, they don't get it, or, oh, I think they're getting it, or, oh, it doesn't matter. I'm so tired of it. So you can't do this to us in a game. You can't do the worst game of the year and then the best game of the year in one game. You got to pick. Decide which one it is. Because it wasn't just me. All of Celtics Twitter.
Twitter was angry tonight.
I don't know if he's in the show here. We lost Jake. Okay? We lost Jake Eisenberg. We lost him.
One of the most positive Celtics fans you'll know.
We lost him. Ahmed, if you want to grab his tweets, I'll put him up there. We lost him.
Do we know if he's back? He must be back, right?
We're on the verge of losing Noah. Like,
we were.
She
called it the win of the year.
Louise, right here. She did it. We need the OGs back. I haven't had Blorp in the room for a while. I haven't had Louise.
Yes.
This is the problem. Okay. This is the problem. And yes, I'm putting my foot down in this.
Everybody go back to what you were doing.
You can't do this. This is abusive. Okay. You can't do this. So I'll say this. I enjoyed watching it. It felt like last year, very much like last year. And I can hope that the Celtics reminded themselves what it was like. And we're like, oh, shit. So when we do that, that's what happens. And it wasn't just shots falling. It was, George, what the hell? Where have you guys been? What in the world is going on?
It's Sunday. Everyone's, around today, right? Sunday night. People are hanging around. Here they are.
I'm not going to lie. I've taken it personally. I've taken it a little personally. George and Louise, Blorp. Yeah, I took it personally. I'm sorry. I'm stuck with Andrew yelling at me all game about JB stuff. That's what I got. Okay? Yeah. All game long. Just kidding, Andrew. You're great too. I appreciate everybody. So this is what bugs me. Because I want to believe that this has a chance to be like one of those trigger catalyst games. And if it is, if they go on a run or things start to improve, you'll look back here and like maybe that moment where the Celtics were like, fuck it, let's just be us again. And they did it. But if you take another step back, they get drilled by Cleveland, or they play a good one against Cleveland, they get drilled the next time out, at home against a Dallas with half a team. That's going to suck. So
Dallas, more on them later.
I know more on them. I've been begging to see a stretch. The difference between this year's team and last year's team, I feel, is every time they did something you didn't like or didn't feel good about, they'd erase it almost right away and go on these runs, and it's just not doing it. And so I'm torn. I want to rejoice in a great win when they looked like themselves and everything was right, and Tatum looked like the best player in the NBA. Yeah, all of you guys came back because of Luka. Thanks, guys. Cass. Yeah. Is it us? Is it us? Is it them, or is it the Celtics? If it's us, it's fine. I understand.
It's them. It's not. It's never us. It's them. Well, and
I don't want to be dishonest with you, Jimmy, with myself, or with the good people who tune in to watch the show. I don't want to be dishonest. I don't feel it yet. I don't feel it. I am not rejoicing in the best win of the year. I am still more mad about the first 2.5+ quarters than I am happy about the end. I don't think I'm going to be able to change that. It's just that's how I feel currently. Maybe it'll marinate. I'll feel better later, but I don't know.
Because you feel like this current Celtics team, the first 3 quarters represents this current Celtics team more than that fourth quarter does.
I'm not sure. What I will say is it's so easy to call it a shooting variance game and say, well, they didn't hit him early and they hit him late. And I think we have I think we have numbers on it. And I don't think it's one of those games. I don't. Here is the game. Started 9 of 27, finished 14 of 22. I don't think it's a straight shooting variance thing. I think while they did have open looks that they missed, they were settling a lot. They weren't attacking the paint. They were doing all of those things that you hate doing, and then they wouldn't adjust to it. When they weren't falling, instead of getting anything they wanted on this Sixers team, which they could have the entire time, this is a bottom 6 or 7 defense and with Embiid. I mean, they're playing without him. This is a dreadful. You could get anything you wanted at any point in time. You could have picked your poison and decided who's going to score 40 tonight and gone with it. And they didn't. They just jacked it up. And then they fell asleep. They got backdoored all goddamn night. So we're going to sit here and we're going to gush over Jason Tatum's near perfect fourth quarter. And it was. But I can't unsee him falling asleep and getting backdoored by Yabu 4 times. Like, I can't. That's not going away. So just like if it's a choice to play well, it's a choice not to. And that's what I can't get out of my head is, why are you choosing not to do this? Like, why the Jason Tatum we saw it? I tweeted this as well. When Jason Tatum tries, it looks effortless. He looked like he was toying with them in the fourth quarter. Complete control and command. Why?
He had him on a string.
Why not do this in the first quarter and then just make it friggin' Geno time? What are we doing here? I don't get it. And honestly, if they don't go 14 for 22 late, if they start hitting some shots, but not all of the shots, it's one of those valiant, empty calories comebacks, and you still lose, and it's horrible. So I'm glad they won, but I can't shake the beginning. I can't, even as good as they were.
Facts, my dog. Listen,
I'm not going to tell you guys how to feel, so you don't have to tell me how to feel.
I mean, I'm right there with you.
People are going to be on both sides of it. I totally respect you if you think this was a turning point, win of the year sort of thing where they showed their true mettle and announced themselves once again. I think that that's an acceptable stance to have. I personally don't have it at the moment. That's all. I'm just being honest.
I mean, I think we've seen the flopping so much this season where it makes perfect sense to treat it like, the boy who cried wolf situation or something like that. You're not really sure you're going to really believe that this is true. This is the real team. But it is, on the other hand, John, for them to be able to come back the way they did, it does remind you what they are capable of. And
no doubt.
they wouldn't be able to do it against a better team. If they played the way they did for 3 quarters against the Knicks or, the Magic or whoever, pick a playoff team in the East, they probably aren't making that fourth quarter comeback because the opponent's not going to be, give up a lead that big. And they honestly could have even had a bigger lead at that point if it was a different team. So there is some truth to that. But the fact is, for them to be able to, close that third quarter out on a high note, get it down to a manageable number, and then come out the way they did, whether it was Tatum or White, they had like the little 2-man game going on. Tatum was basically toying with Philadelphia. I mean, he pretty much goaded them into doing everything that he wanted them to do, whether it was with the double teams, passing out of the double teams, finding White, finding Jalen, whoever it was. He kind of just was running the show. And I think that's what you said, kind of what you alluded to earlier, is he makes it look so easy out there sometimes. And then obviously with the shots falling, they hit the open shots in that fourth quarter. There were some open shots that they were missing in the first three. Yeah, the boneheaded buzzer that Holiday couldn't get off in time somehow. Stupid stuff like that. And then I don't know what happened in that third for them to snap out of it. But as soon as they did, and they started playing defense, John, that was the other thing. Like you said before, all the backdoor cutting and the driving to the hoop. I mean, how many times was Oubre going to drive on them? It was unbelievable.
I agree 100%. I want to kind of amplify what you're saying and put up a comment here because I was going to bring up this point myself. In the first half, I believe Drew Holiday was a -28 in 15 minutes and Jason Tatum was a -23, which is insane and really hard to do. And my DMs and people tweeting at me are just filled with like, Jesus, the guards can't guard anymore. Like what's going on here? They can't stay in front of Maxey. And look, a lot of people can't stay in front of Maxey. This is his superpower. He's fast as F and he just gets where he wants to go. But this possession right at the end of the game, the one that Joe challenged and they won.
Yep.
I think that this proves a point. And so this is where the good to me amplifies the bad rather than washes it away, because this to me is very emblematic of the type of non-effort they gave the entire beginning of the game. Holiday and Tatum did, and he blocked a shot. They were in his shit. This is a guy who was unstoppable, going in straight lines to the basket because the Celtics are playing half-ass, straight up, not get down in your defensive stance sort of defense, waiting for the guy to get a step and then looking over for help, not really doing it. And then you got Tatum, works him into the corner and gets a block shot, and Holiday just absolutely gets in his shit. Like what you expect Holiday to do, and what makes him one of the most valuable players in the NBA, and what made him one of the first 3 or 4 people picked for the Olympic team was this thing. And you see it, and you're like, well, so where was it? What were you doing? Why did you choose not to? It's crazy. It's crazy.
I mean,
so again, I agree with this. It's a
level
nice reminder, but like that was lock it down stuff, which was great.
Yeah. And I guess, the point is it shouldn't have to get to that point, right? Against a team that's missing 2 of their best guys, not a playoff team. They have no business competing with the Celtics. But bottom line is the Celtics have not been getting up for these games the way that they did last year. And that's the difference between the two. Is last year they wanted to punk you. They wanted to run you off the court. This year, they're letting the other team too many games now. They're letting the other team do the dictating. They're letting the other team make the comeback. Like Friday night, it felt like the Celtics were going to blow that one. I know I wasn't on the show, but if Tatum's shot doesn't go down, it's a completely different discussion that we're having, right? I imagine. So these are the types of games that they've been letting slip by them. So whether it was Tatum hitting that shot on Friday night, whether it was the fourth quarter tonight, everybody finally, picking it up basically and playing at the level that we all expect them to play at. That's the other thing. The expectations are these guys are the NBA, the defending NBA champions, but there's no reason to believe that they aren't good enough to repeat. And now people are doubting it a little bit more because of what we've seen out there, but it's the same team. Some of these guys should theoretically be better this year than they were last year.
Right.
And so you are kind of waiting for that aha moment that, okay, yeah, that's the team. That's who we saw to start this season. The team that was running teams off the court first few games here. And then it disappeared. It's a long season. Totally get it. Guys are tired in and out of the lineup. There's been some injuries here and there. But when you're playing a team like the Sixers, that fourth quarter should not have been the anomaly, right? That should feel like, and again, I know 14 to 22 from 3 or whatever. It's a crazy number. I don't expect that. But that's the style of play that we should be seeing more often, whether it's them whipping the ball around and finding Hauser for a couple of big threes, whether it's Tatum finding White, and even Brown was getting on the action there. So, and again, the lockdown defense by Holiday. That's really all you want to see from Holiday. That's why they got him. They didn't, the last year, the 3-point shooting was a bonus, and you'll certainly take it, and you want it this year as well. But if he can just give you what he's been known to give you on the defensive end and play like you saw in that Maxey drive there, where he just did everything right all up in him, and then pulled the chair out from underneath right as Maxey tried to get contact. That's next level stuff again, that's flipping that switch to that, that notch up, one more notch to the highest. And then you get that. So
right.
But are they just waiting for the playoffs to play that way? Like, that's the thing.
So that's the thing is, like, so the most what when I go back and I'm like, do they suck? Are they reverting back to the worst habits of the mid Tatum Brown era?
Yeah.
Where they kind of had a taste of success, thought it was easy, were a little too cool for school. Is Holiday getting old? Is Al? All of those questions, fill my head. And then there's another piece of me that thinks that they can't say it out loud, but they don't give a shit. Mm-hmm. And they won't give a shit. And they actually are good enough to flip the switch. And I think that that's also possible. I don't love that because sometimes it's hard to undo a year's worth of bad habits. But like, if they all of a sudden decided in post All-Star break to okay, let's start to really care a little. Mm-hmm. And then they just start doing what they were doing to teams last year, I think all of this stuff will go away. But if they keep going back and forth, like they have been for the last 30 games or so for a while, I think you're going to feel a little icky going into the playoffs, knowing that are we going to have games where the post game is, we didn't come out with energy tonight, and we're sitting here screaming guys, it's the playoffs. You know what I mean? Yeah. Is we've seen this. We've seen the core two of this team have that issue, even as recently as last year, but not as much, but certainly 2 years ago, multiple times. That would drive me insane. So it's only because of that where you really just want to see it to forget it. But I think it's entirely possible that they can't answer any of the questions about their bad play because deep down they're like, we really actually don't care. We really don't care. And that's fine. That's fine.
Don't say that. But that is but it shows. That's how, when they don't, that's kind of how it shows on the court. And when they do, the opposite, right? You can totally see a difference. And that's really anything in life. When the effort's there, the product is going to be that much more better, right? So listen, I get it. It's not easy to repeat. It's not even easy to get back to the finals the year after you win. So, I can see how it's a grind for them to be getting up for these types of games where, especially when you're looking at the teams that you're playing, you're seeing a Sixers team that there's probably more Celtics fans in the arena than Sixers fans tonight. No one's really getting up for these Sixers games right now. The players aren't playing. They're not currently, a team that anyone thinks is going to be in the playoffs or make any noise in the playoffs. And so it's and it's a Sunday. I get it. There's all these excuses and reasons why you wouldn't want to get up for it, but it is the NBA. These guys are professionals. And at the end of the day, talent's going to win out. You just got to play. You got to just play your game. And the Celtics finally did that late in that third quarter. And, I think they also stopped playing against, again, getting in their feelings, complaining about calls, things like that. Just play the game, and I feel like at that point, if you're looking at each team on paper, it's not even close. Just play the game and more likely than not, you're going to come out with that W. And that's exactly what happened with the Celtics.
Yep. We are aware. I know there's people in the chat talking about another blockbuster trade in the NBA. This is why the NBA is awesome. No other league does this. Crazy stuff.
Not even the deadline yet.
Boomer Gelso wants no free agency and players to stay with their teams forever. But this crazy drama of players switching teams and this stuff is bananas. So It's not even the deadline. So obviously we're going to talk about Luka, and we're going to talk about a new trade that sends De'Aaron Fox to San Antonio to team up with Wemby, which is kind of pretty interesting, potentially scary. And yes, we will get to it, Christian. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you, all of you, for contributing any and all super chats. We do appreciate it, of course, and that stuff goes to the hosts. So again, thank you very much for all of that. Let me tell you quickly before we move on. And again, we're Joe Mazzulla spoke a short while ago. Bobby and Noah are in Philly. We're going to hear from them in a little bit once they get done with the locker room stuff. And we're going to hear from Joe as soon as we get that sound loaded for you. Real quick, we're going to tell you about our sponsor here. And yeah, we're getting close. Prize Picks, easy way, not easy way, but a way to win real money right here on Prize Picks, up to 1,000 times your cash. Pick more, pick less on 2 players. It's that simple. All you have to do is download that promo code CLNS. New users, you play 5, you get 50 instantly. Lots of special deals, special perks, Flex Friday, Taco Tuesday. But the thing we're talking about the most is basically a free square heading into the big game, which is coming up in exactly 1 week. And as we said, you do what it says on the screen here. If you're a new user, you use that code, play 5, you get 50. But once you do play, let me put it up there.
Yeah.
That's what you get. Patrick Mahomes, freebie, free square,
Big game,
0.5
free pick.
passing yards for the big game. That is
You
in
can do
exactly
that.
1 week. Speaking of the big game, Ahmed and Taylor are off to the big game, so make sure you stay with the Patriots press pass coverage of the Super Bowl and of the Patriots and all things Patriots continuing on there. But again, get in on that action. As we said, download the code CLNS. Download the app, promo code CLNS, play 5, get 50 instantly. Prize Picks, run your game. And yeah, I like those free squares. As we said, we have, what was this? Who put this up there? There's Noah. Yep. Noah was pleased. Noah was happy.
What about the Bobby
hear from
one?
Joe Mazzulla in a little bit. What did Bobby say?
I don't know.
Yeah, I've definitely infected Bobby a little bit. And that's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. I've done it. I apologize.
Yeah.
I get you eventually. But yeah, where was it? And again, I'm curious to the chat here. Are you mostly happy or mostly annoyed, or a good mix of the two?
I think, of course it's a good mix, but I think you have to come out of here more happy than not. I mean, you're frustrated. I think annoyed, frustrated are all words. I mean, you almost, like I said, you almost blew Friday's game too against another another bad team. And this was almost a repeat of that tonight. So there's definitely a reason to be frustrated. I'm not going to say panic meter is going to go up after a win. But you just want to see the more consistency throughout the game. And when you see what they're capable of, it just, it's like you said, you're kind of scratching your head. Like, what is it with these guys that they can't put it together for that amount of time? But if it goes back to just not caring or whatever,
little sad, little hungry,
mostly happy, little sad. That's a good day for me, honestly. I will take that. But you can't be more mad than happy, John, because of the way they did respond and come back in this game. They did D up. But they're, and maybe it's a lesson, it's a lesson that they can hopefully take out of this, is that, well, I don't know if they're going to learn anything because it's not the first time. I'm sure it won't be the last time, but just, it's so unnecessary to have to work that hard to make a comeback. It's just so unnecessary to go down 26 points to a team like Philly. And you really have to be playing like C- or like F basketball to go down like that for the Celtics. Because, I mean, even if they just play okay, it's probably a competitive game. And it's not a 26-point deficit that they have to climb themselves out of.
Yeah. So. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do a blame pile to win.
Yeah. We almost
I-
did
and
that.
I
a couple
and I
weeks
agree,
ago.
Cass. That was that low key my favorite moment of the game because exactly what we said earlier. It's nice to know they can do it when they want to, and I do like to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to know. We have Joe Mazzulla. We have the full press conference. I don't think I'm going to necessarily go through all of it. We're going to put some of it up here. Hear what Joe had to say about the game, and do not ask him about the Luka trade. He does not want to talk about it. But let's hear a little bit from Joe Mazzulla.
Joe, where do you feel like was the biggest factor in the game turning there in the second half for you guys?
I mean, I'd say just our ability to chip away at it. I mean, there was two things there. There was definitely a component that we weren't playing as detailed as we needed to. With Maxi scoring 23 points in the first half, and those coming in transition, and but I felt like we were getting really good shots, and so at one point I looked at the box score and they were shooting 60% from three, and we were shooting 26, and so I said we're either going to lose by 50 or it's going to be a close game, and so I really liked our guys' just approach, like in the second half. Even when it wasn't going well, we had a great approach, just kind of chipping away at it, making the right play on offense, getting stops, managing the runs, and I just loved how they responded, from the second half.
Details, did you see something change offensively or defensively for you guys that kind of aided that run?
We were shooting 26%, and then we ended up shooting 42%. Would be a huge part of that. No, I mean, I think the biggest thing was in the first half we weren't making shots and it was impacting some of our defensive details. And in the second half we played through it.
Yep.
We chipped away at it, and we got stops and we were able to get out. We were able to run. I think we made 11 straight shots, which if you're going to come back, you have to do that. But I just liked our guys' mindset, and I was kind of studying their body language, and it looked like they really wanted to do what it took to win, and so kind of stuck with them, and they delivered. And I was proud to coach them this game.
What do you look for when you say that? Like study their body language. Like what kind of things are you noticing and seeing that gives you that?
We were getting really good looks. We were executing. They were communicating together as a team, and we were getting some stops. And so, I felt like if we could get it to 14, we'd have a chance. I mean, 14 in the fourth quarter of an NBA game is almost like a 3-possession game kind of sometimes. So, and I liked how the guys were communicating with each other. I like how. We were fighting defensively. They made some tough shots, but our mindset and the approach in the second half, plus some shot making, I think, is what helped us.
What went into Al not playing kind of down the stretch?
I mean, I think just kind of playing, Sam with their zone and kind of getting Sam going. They were leaving him wide open in the first half, and he didn't make some. And just studying the shots at halftime, I felt like, if we kind of went to, one big and let Sam loose a little bit, that he'd be able to get some more open looks. And I thought he did a great job in that third quarter and defensively as well. So. Again, man, I told the guys, like, I'll be in the NBA. You get a few chances to where, like, you really see, your guys do something special in the regular season, and I felt like their approach to that was that.
How clutch are Derek and Drew, those two making shots?
I mean, yeah. I mean, you can go down the line with everyone starting, at
Very.
the top, but with Derek's ability to, allow Sam to run most of the fourth quarter, come back at the 4-minute mark, and he shoots his first shot on the wing and makes it. That's big time. And then Drew's ability to, get the transition layup, get the deflection that gets us a shot, and then hit the three that kind of sealed it at the end. They always just kind of hang around, just making plays for us on both ends of the floor. So we're lucky to have them. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I thought his poise and, his ability to just kind of pick the defense apart the way he wanted. He had some great possessions on Maxi, but, his ability just with the ball in his hands to make plays. And even in the first half, I think he only took 6 shots in the first half, but he got 4 free throws and he was making plays. I think their zone kind of forced him to see some 2-on-1s, and he made them. And then in the second half, we were just able to kind of play through his poise and his decision-making on the offensive end.
Yeah, he's got back-to-back games with double-digit assists. How is he seeing the floor?
Yeah, I mean, it goes both ways, right? You can't have an assist unless the guy makes it. So, his potential.
So
Facts.
Look, a couple things I think are worthwhile off of that. One, I hate giving in entirely to the make-miss league stuff, but yeah, look, the Sixers did, and granted, people are mad because Joe didn't adjust to shooting fewer threes, And I actually didn't agree with that while Twitter was losing its mind over the bad 3-point shooting. Yeah, I think they settled for some, and they do that sometimes. But the Sixers were the Sixers barely played anybody over 6'9" all game long, and they were playing a zone and they were packing it in, and they were really daring the Celtics to shoot and hoping they would settle because they knew that they would get crushed otherwise. And they shot, and then they didn't. And Mazzulla, as he said, Horford didn't see the floor. Hauser was playing more and he went single big, which ding, ding, ding is an adjustment, because that's what you needed here. And he didn't use Luke until he sat KP. So he stayed single big there and he kept the shooters on the floor. And that made a difference because they actually did need to keep shooting the threes because that's what Philly was conceding. It's nice to be able to take it to the bucket from time to time. And when they did, they still could get there. And it's still important to drive against the zone. You can't just give up on it entirely. But that's what had to happen. They had to just keep doing it. I mean, this really was a process game. And I'm glad, at least, like he said, that where, yeah, we went to a single big. They were playing a zone. We wanted Sam out there, and then Sam's hitting shots. Sam's shooting. Sam's on a tear right now, 3-point. There's another talk about another encouraging thing. And that's it. That's it. So, I mean, we can call it a flipping the switch thing. And it is, it's always one thing to be encouraged about and one thing to not be. This team cannot survive this season with everything that's going to be coming at them when they get to the playoffs and other teams that are playing better basketball than the teams that were playing last year, getting in their feelings every time their shots don't fall. If this can't be what you do, like if you want to learn good habits, learn to suck on offense and win the game on defense. They got to have a few games like that this year where the defense brings them back. It's not all of a sudden the shots start falling and now I'm happy again and I'll play defense. Like right. Jaylen Brown told Abby after the game, same exact thing. Like we are officiating and the other stuff, the zone and all of those things get in our head. And, we just got to play basketball. We're the better team. Everything will work itself out. That's fine. But you just got to do all of it. Like, can't just shoot your way out of everything. And then when the shots start falling, be happy enough to play defense. They have to figure that part out. That drives me nuts. Like, that's still a mentally soft thing that they have to get over. When we talk about are these guys tough or soft, everyone's like, what do you mean Tatum's not soft? It's not that. It's not being affected. It's a tough freaking game. And if the teams are gunning for you and they're playing you different and the things that you always do aren't working, you got to get tough and do stuff. And so that's the last hurdle there is it's not just, they have to figure out a way to just clamp down and win it with the defense when the shots aren't falling or win some other way.
The defense needs to be automatic. Like, it shouldn't fluctuate based on your mood and based on how happy you are because your shots are falling. That's going to be like that's what you got to be able to fall back on always. Right. And I think last year, and that's what Bobby's he's always like hammering, is that the defense, it has to be a constant so that when your shots aren't falling, you still have something to lean on, which is your defense. And you can still, maybe get buckets in transition off of stops and get yourself back that way. With this Celtics team, and again, the shots fell tonight, so it's all fine and dandy, but they're still trying to shoot themselves out of it with the 3-pointer. They're not, this wasn't a game where they were driving and, instilling their physicality and all that stuff. The threes were just falling in the fourth quarter. I mean, at an unbelievable rate. Great. I'm not going to complain about it at all. But if a couple of them rim out or go a different way, could be having a completely different conversation right now. So I do think this team is still a little bit too overly reliant on the outside shot, John, and not reliant enough on their defense. But we saw it tonight, and I think Joe mentioned it. He gave Jaylen Brown credit for a defensive stand that he had in the third quarter that kind of got the team sparked a little bit and got them kind of going in the right direction. And then we saw it again with Holiday in the fourth. So little glimpses of that remind you that, again, we know what these guys are capable of on the defensive end. And if they can just rely on that more consistently, the nights when the shots aren't falling at all, like in the first few quarters of this one, it doesn't mean that they're going to go down 15, 20 points or whatever it is, and then have to catch a lightning in a bottle. And would they score like 50 points in the last like 14 minutes of the game or something crazy like that? Like,
Yeah.
you can't rely on that happening again, is what I'm trying to say. So you got to find that consistency on the defensive end.
I would agree. And
that's
this is another point I agree with. And going back to what we talked about with the Joe Mazzulla press conference there, moving to single big, playing a team without anybody over 6'8" should obviously tip you off that double big isn't what you want to do. But you know me, now that Porzingis is back, please don't ever do double big again. Like, just don't. Put your players out there, keep the floor spread, shoot the ball. I'm definitely concerned about Horford at the moment, but we'll see.
Here you go. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah.
Good question.
I don't know yet. I don't want to say that yet.
It's kind of harsh.
Into that,
yeah.
he's dipped into that fountain of youth a lot, but I haven't liked it for a little bit now, and I'm not sure what he's bringing you at this moment. It's not just I don't want to look at box scores and be like, oh, he hit his threes tonight.
Right.
He doesn't look like he's defending well. He's your switchable big when he's out there. I don't think that's working great right now. And honestly, like, they were better with Cornette in the second half. It wasn't just that he was using Hauser more and went single big. When he went to another big, it was Luke. So Al was removed because he was ineffective. So it is what it is. And maybe it's rest. Maybe it's the toe or whatever was going on with him. He's not moving great. But yeah, I'm definitely a little concerned there. But I've always thought single big is the way. So I'm glad if that's a direction that they stay there. And yeah, Gregory, he might be our second center.
He's your second center.
He's just
I
second
don't know.
center.
I'm with you on the Horford stuff too. I mean, I'm watching the same stuff, so I'm seeing it too. But if he's not hitting that outside shot, that corner three or whatever, he's really not adding much right now at all. He's not physical. He's certainly not gonna be the athletic one. Still a smart player. Don't get me wrong. I do think he can still contribute to this team, but the role might just have to be less than what it has been. He's a guy that's kind of
right now. Luke's better. Right now, they're better with Luke. I never thought I would say that. Yeah, I never thought I would say that. So again, we will get some more post-game sound out there. We've heard from a lot of the guys. We're getting that sound back in, and we're hoping to get Noah and Bobby out here for a little bit because we want to talk about a bunch of different things. Among them, it's almost weird to talk about. Thank God this game gave us a lot to talk about, because it would have been weird to not come out here. If they just drilled the Sixers like they were supposed to, we would have been talking Luka for the last 30 minutes.
Yeah,
already.
I'm kind of done with this game. I don't want to talk Luka, but I know
we will. We'll get back into
it
a little. It's a potentially important game. But we will get into that. We do know last night, one of the craziest trades in NBA history, plus just a fun hour on Twitter when nobody knew what the F was going on with this, when the Mavericks traded Luka to the Lakers. We'll get into that for sure. And also we have more breaking news here, also from Shams, Shams is just like, let me just stretch my shit out here. I got no competition for this. I can tweet whenever I want. I'm the only guy out here reporting this. De'Aaron Fox joins Wemby with the Spurs in San Antonio, which is an interesting dynamic. We'll talk about both of those trades definitely before this show is out. Before we do that, and before we hear from some more Celtics players, we do want to quickly give a shout out to another one of our sponsors over at Game Time.
This episode is also powered by Game Time, the best place to get tickets to the games, events, and concerts you want to see. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Game Time is filled with terrific features like all-in pricing, so you know exactly how much you're paying. No surprise fees at checkout. You also get panoramic views from your seats in the app, so you know exactly what you'll be looking at before you buy. Plus, a lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Once again, download that Game Time app, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. What time is it? It's game time.
And what's the next opportunity to go see the Celtics, Jimmy?
You tell me.
Dallas.
Of course.
The Mavericks come into town, and again, some pretty good seats available.
Yeah, that
if
sucks.
You can
If
check
you were
it
hoping
out.
to see Luka, though.
It does, but you can go troll Kyrie, and I love that the Kyrie and AD marriage that Danny tried to put together all those years ago has finally come to fruition 7 years later, or whatever it is.
Crazy.
But that's interesting. Dallas comes in here. My goodness, I feel for the Dallas fans. I mean,
I can't even.
I saw a report that in 4 hours, they lost 770,000 Instagram followers from their team account. Just as somebody brought a coffin to the arena today.
Picketing outside the arena today,
Oh my goodness gracious. But check that out if you want to go check out the Celtics and the Mavs. And again, they'll be coming home off of this little road trip with a Tuesday game against Cleveland, which is huge and awesome, and very excited to see how they do there. Cleveland, by the way, playing Dallas tonight, went out and put 91 points on them in the first half, 50 in the first quarter. Unbelievable. But if you want to get in, check out the game. Game Time is the place for you. Download that Game Time app, create the account, use code CLNS, $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. And Jimmy, I know you want to get in on the trade a little bit.
I do.
Who won the swap? That's stupid. Oh, I didn't even put that up there. That's because I was yelling at Bobby. Wait till you hear Bobby's takes on this stuff. This is gonna
prevent people from sleeping soundly tonight when they hear Bobby's takes on this stuff.
Just wait. You guys, if you guys think you get mad at me because I'm not happy every single time the Celtics win or I find things to nitpick over, wait till you hear Bobby talk about this trade. It's gonna.
I might have to log off.
I need him here because I need another enemy. I can't always be the guy taking all of the shots here. Okay. It's hard for me to sleep at night. Everyone's mad at me, but we did catch up with some people in Philly. The defense, John.
The defense.
He doesn't play any defense.
He's gonna play your defense. He's like, I know I've been saying it, and I'm gonna keep saying it. He's not playing defense.
Oh my goodness gracious! The Mavs were with Luka playing 40 minutes a game. The Mavs were the number 3 defense in the league last year. Don't tell me, and the number 1 defense over the second half of the year. Don't tell me the defense is the issue. Don't tell me that. But anyway, we caught up with some Celtics after the game today, and we'll go back to this game as well. I promise when Bobby and Noah jump in here. But here we're gonna let Jimmy get a. You want to talk to me about it because you and I are going to agree, or do you want to wait to yell at Bobby? Let's hear from some of the Celtics and the people we talked to in Philly about the trade.
About the trades, I don't really care.
Thanks, Joe.
Maybe like everybody else's. I mean, unprecedented, right? That those kind of players are moving. Surprising for sure. But I think there's been a lot of stars moving in the recent years that we've all been surprised by and all that kind of stuff. So just another one. And my initial thought always is I got enough to worry about with my own team than trying to figure out what everybody else is doing.
Just, in disbelief. We were all in disbelief. We didn't think it was real. It is very, surprising. You're not used to seeing something like that. But, I really don't understand that. I think that we're all kind of looking for those answers right now. And I just think time will tell. I mean, obviously, Anthony Davis is probably having one of his better seasons that he's had in many years. And they have, their guy in Kyrie, that can kind of, run the show for them. So, it'll be interesting to see how, obviously how it plays out from both sides.
They might ask, already, but you probably weren't up when it happened, right?
No.
Did you kind of wake up to the news?
Yeah, this morning I saw it. My younger brother sent me a message. And, that's how I found out. Then I turned on the TV and looked at the phone and all that.
But that's enough for Mel. Yeah. Super fun. One of my favorite things, and Ahmed, if you can, we'll get some of it out there. But one of my favorite tweets out there was somebody said, because the initial thought was that Shams got hacked. One of my favorite tweets out there was that a trade is bad when people are certain that somebody was hacked rather than you would actually have made that trade, which was great. So the GM out there couldn't have liked that. But again, I mean,
I was just say that, like,
I love this. This might be the craziest day of my life, and I've been shot before. My favorite part of the trade, Ainge getting in on a couple of second round picks like a freaking
dude. I saw that too. I was like, freaking Ainge, man,
jumping in there. Sample text from NBA team execs. The first time I've been legitimately shocked. Could not move. Terrible deal. So yeah. Good stuff there. Good stuff there. Go ahead, Jimmy. Go for it.
Do you think Nico Harrison? Do you think he was like kind of like scrolling through Twitter and was just kind of like, oh boy, like maybe I did screw this one up here, like after seeing all these people like just straight up not believing that the trade could possibly be this bad or that it could have ever happened? Because honestly, I can't wrap my brain around how bad the trade is either, John. And I think that's where you're at with it. But just going over it a little bit today and trying to figure out where the Mavs were coming from with this. Listen, I understand Anthony Davis is having a great year, all that stuff. Can the Mavs still be competitive this year? Absolutely. But you're talking about a top 2-3 player, depending on your rankings here in the NBA, generational type talent, international superstar. The business side of things alone, you don't make this trade. And that's like before you even talk about what Luka gives you on the court and he's the guy's 25? He's 25 years old. He's got another 10 plus years of being an elite, all NBA player here. And you traded him for a guy in Anthony Davis, who is, again, having a great season, but he is on the back end, I would say. 31, not really a marketable guy, has forced his way off teams in the past. And, you pair him with a guy like Kyrie Irving now. And yeah, you've got two really great players there, but who knows how that could, there's a lot of personalities, mixing and matching and things like that now could be interesting. And you only got one first round pick. How is that possible that you only got one first round pick? And then Harrison said something about like the future is now. It's over the next few years. It's not 10 years from now. It's like, dude, you have to be prepared. You have to have like bullets in the holster years from now too. You just got rid of one of the biggest assets in sports, and that was your return for it. It just makes absolutely zero sense to me. It's horrible for the franchise. You lost so many fans, whether they were in the Dallas area or over, think about all the fans they just lost overseas, because those are Luka fans. So now, like, there's a lot of the money that you're going to be losing out on now. Jersey sales, whatever it could be. Ticket sales are going to freaking plummet, I'm sure. It's just not, it doesn't make any sense to me in any way, shape, or form. And of freaking course, John, of all the teams that have to get Luka, it's the freaking Lakers. A team that was been struggling. They're going to lose LeBron in the next couple of years, and they're really just kind of left, with not a whole lot. And then they just get this gift out of nowhere. They get, out of all the freaking teams, it has to be the Lakers. Like that's the part that it's like, it almost doesn't make sense to me. It's like, how did that work out? I mean, it works out for the NBA. I mean, the Lakers, when the Lakers are good, it's good for the NBA. So I can't figure out how the hell that happened. I can't figure out what compelled the Mavericks to make this trade. I know that the rumors are that they didn't feel that Luka was a max or a super max player. They felt that he may have wanted to, maybe didn't think that he was going to want to play for them in years to come, but doesn't matter. You got to do what the Brad Stevens plan is, John. Lock everybody up and figure it out later. That's what you had to do with Luka. And the fact that they fumbled this so badly, I mean, Harrison should be out of a job today if it was up to me. And if I'm a Mavericks fan, I'm not supporting that. I can't support. Imagine if you woke up today and the Celtics traded Tatum for. I think
this is
for,
you know what cracks me up. It's exactly that, Jimmy. Look at the Dallas fans, right? What cracks me up is a bunch of people out there trying to act smart about basketball and like actually blah 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 defense and blah blah blah.
Right.
Yeah,
like,
Davis.
Get over yourselves, people.
First of all, whatever. But second, it's not about the basketball. Dallas might be better. Potentially, possibly, sure. Why not?
Sure, maybe
that's fine. But you
for
traded Luka.
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter. You traded Luka for one. You know what would have made you even better? Trading him for what he was worth. You got about 1/3 value on it. That's why it's an L. It's not the basketball. It's you got
no value. Yeah,
the
how do you only get one pick?
The Durant trade of Bridges, Cam Johnson, and three firsts is the minimum, is the starting point. 2 up-and-coming younger players and 3 to 4 first-round picks is the blueprint. For Luka, it should have probably been 1.5 times that. It's insane how low the return is. And again, you're not guys. Whoever's going to be like, well, you don't know, blah. It's not every NBA insider who's talked to every other executive in basketball, all those executives feel exactly the same way. Like, what the F are they doing? This is criminal to trade a player like that
bad. Like,
it's criminal to trade a player like this for this little. And then if you want further, if you want to further understand how people feel about this, the executives and the Mavericks fans are apoplectic. They've lost their minds. They don't want to watch this team ever again. They're done. So don't tell me it's good.
It's the type of trade that will ruin, it will end fans allegiance to a team. There's monumental moments in every fan.
You don't do that.
Yeah.
You call other teams, you figure it out. You run it's up. You would have a week run up of the biggest bidding war you've ever seen in the NBA. A player like this at age 25 does not come available. You don't call one team and say, do you want him? Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah. Throw in a second rounder and it's a deal. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell? And again, the Lakers, I mean, I don't know how it all went down, but I imagine the Lakers were did a triple take when they found out that this is what the ask was. Okay, yeah, sure. Where do we sign? Immediately. Yeah, I mean, if they called around to the league and they actually shopped Luka, you're getting way more than this.
Like I'm saying, if you were saying I'm not saying they could have, but here's a reasonable trade. I've mentioned this before. Houston for Green, Amen Thompson, and 3 or 4 firsts. That's the type of package you would expect. 2 young up and coming players playing different positions, and a whole bunch of picks, something like that. For Luke, it's Luke. I just don't think people are getting this. But anyway, it's a strange trade. We'll talk more about it with Bobby and Noah. Get their take. For those who want even more on it
in basketball history, kind of.
It really is. I've said a ton. We popped on, Bobby and I, along with Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn, 2 members of the Big 3 podcast on the CLNS Media Network, Gary of the Boston Globe. And we were on earlier today. We went on for about an hour and talked about it. You guys should check that out as well. If you want some trade reacts, and Jimmy can go at Bobby a little bit when we kind of get into things later.
He's gonna have his facts though.
Yeah. Back to this game, as we said, it was a killer Jason Tatum game overall. 35 points, 13 of 20 field goals, the 11 assists. He was doing it all game long. Second straight double-digit assist game. Erased a very sloppy, lethargic, passive first half like it never happened. And honestly, one of the best stretches of basketball Tatum's played all season long there, to close things out. Here's Tatum after the game.
Your mind.
What do you like about the comeback? What do you think kind of sparked it?
I mean, we just had to be honest with ourselves at halftime. We had 20 points in transition. We just our competitive spirit wasn't where it needed to be. And, you know, Joe was like, yo, if you're tired, then just tell me. I'll sit you guys down, let you stay ready to go play. And we just had a choice to make. And
wow.
It was a long third quarter. Like, it didn't go our way right away, and we just had to keep fighting. But it brought the best out of us. It brought, you know, that's how we're supposed to play. You know, it took a little bit from everybody. Our competitive joy was there on both ends, and it was just fun to be a part of.
What do you think kind of locked in there those last couple of minutes of the third quarter when you guys were able to cut the deficit right down to like 10 or 11?
We just kept saying towards the end of the third and timeout, like, let's cut it to 14, let's cut it to 12, let's get it to 10 to start the fourth, give ourselves a chance. And, you know, we made a few plays there. I think it was at 14 to start the fourth. And, you know, we felt good about that.
When did Joe say that? Like, hey, if you're tired, let me know and we'll call it, basically.
I mean, he just kind of challenged us at halftime. Like, you know, the way we was playing in the first half was not, you know, representative of who we are
Joe.
As a team, as an organization. And you know, we took it as men and responded.
And in that third quarter, he said to us, like, he could sense your body language. It was like what he wanted to see. What did you feel out there, and kind of in terms of where you guys were at and where your mindset was, and that you're like, all right, let's kind of do this thing.
And like I said, it was tough. Like, you know, we still was down 20 or 22 with 4 minutes left. Like, we would get some stops, hit some shots, and then, you know, I got backdoor and one. You know, D. White missed the layup. They come down to the three. So it was just like we just had to keep chipping it and keep believing until we kind of broke through.
How much confidence does this group have in themselves and in each other?
Zero confidence, Abby.
I mean, a lot of confidence. In the best way, it's like, you know, we can't forget who we are and what we're capable of and the things that we've done, and not use that as like an excuse. But sometimes it's just like, man, you know, we got to remind ourselves who we are. And, you know, we was down 18 in Indiana last year in Game 3. So, you know, we're familiar in being in those situations. But, you know, we just had to play with a little more swag. You know, we had no life to start the game.
Psychologically, when you guys are down by 26 with a few minutes to go, like, how hard is it to stay optimistic or to stay thinking, like, we're not going to just be pulled in 2 minutes, like, we're actually going to be able to pull this off?
Just like being in that situation before. I think that helps, just knowing that we've been here before. We've overcame deficits. But it takes a strong group. And, you know, I give credit to Sam off the bench, Luke. Those guys gave us big minutes, made big plays. And, you know, we needed it from everybody.
Jason, sorry, someone asked already, but Gershon, what's the biggest difference you notice, obviously being with him early in his career and how he's grown, you know, coming back from the week this year?
Yeah, I love Gersh. I love that he's getting an opportunity. I think just the biggest thing is he's getting an opportunity and looks like he's really taking care of his body. Like, you know, he looks like he's in great shape. You know, he looks like he's lost some weight, and he's getting an opportunity to play, and he's playing aggressive with confidence. So, you know, I'm happy that he's back in the league and thriving.
So, Bobby, I want you to address that comment there because people love that stuff, right? We sit here and we talk. Great insight from Jason Tatum, which I love. I know people are kind of making fun of the ums and the sleepy stuff, which we do, but I thought that was great because
and Joe didn't bring that stuff up.
And so Joe doesn't talk about it, but Jason Tatum says it right here. Joe Mazzulla challenged us at halftime. It's like, are you guys sleepy? You guys tired? You want to sit down? You want to pull the plug? I freaking love that. And so a lot of people back there are you know, wondering, does Joe say anything? Does he do anything? Is this? And I've said that a bunch, Bobby. Like, I think I find Joe's stuff frustrating, but I also think it's meaningless because it doesn't tell us what he's telling them. He's just covering out, right? And he doesn't want to answer the press's questions. I get that, but in this case, I think the chat's clamoring for this kind of stuff, right, from Joe and Tatum. Kind of, you know, a little bit of proof that Joe got on us.
Yeah, no, and we need to hear that. I'm glad he brings it up. I think Joe, whether he's doing that often or tonight was a different response by him, he needed to do something like that. And I think people need to hear, you know, that he's doing stuff like that. Because again, we're just sitting here and we don't know. So it sounds publicly a lot of the time like he is letting them off the hook. And clearly in this game, at the very least, he challenged them and didn't find what they were doing there acceptable. And I know you guys heard Joe blamed a lot of it on the shooting. You know, I wasn't going to let him off the hook with that. There was more to it than that. They had a pep in their step. That defensive possession by Tatum on the corner and Maxey, we haven't seen Tatum do anything like that in like 15, 20 games. That energy level out there and the defensive intensity in that there.
Yeah, we talked about those 2 possessions late. The 2 possessions late where Tatum gets the block on Maxey on the baseline and then Holiday locks him up on the play that ended up with the challenge there. Straight up effort that you weren't seeing in the early parts of the game.
Yeah. Like where was that defensive intensity earlier in this game and in recent weeks? So, you know, Joe got asked, do you think this is going to springboard forward? Do you think this is going to carry? I think it's impossible for anyone to know that. But they were on the verge of catastrophic move over to John level panic loss here. And they dug themselves out of it with one of their bigger.
You are on the other side of me on the panic meter, so you understand. And I want Amik to change the graphic because you've been more panicked than I have.
No, they won tonight. So we're not in the red yet. You know, we're still in the orange. So, and, you know, maybe even you come back down halfway with their recent play. I like what they're looking like these last handful of games. It feels like they're coming out of it. The 3-point shooting obviously turned around late, and it wasn't just them. It was a little bit of them jacking shots, but I like the process for the most part. And, you know, they knew that if they got up a lot more threes than Philly, they were going to be in a good position. And, you know, they probably didn't know they were going to catch fire to that degree. And it's good that it got their defense going again. I want to see them be able to defend when shots aren't falling, John. And that was the one thing Joe said in his post game. He felt like the offensive issues early in the game bled in the defense. And we've seen a lot of that through a worst shooting season for them so far. So, again, hope this carries forward. Obviously, Tuesday's a game that they're not going to have any trouble getting up for. You did it without Pritchard tonight, which I thought was pretty impressive. He's been an energizer for them a lot of the time. So, yeah, collectively, they came alive. Good adjustments by Joe, too. The Hauser stuff, I liked his explanation for that, going away from Horford, going away from double big. All that was good. And, again, great win, even though it's against a shorthanded team, even though they dug themselves that hole. I'm very happy with what I saw tonight.
Nice. Jalen, have anything good to say?
Wasn't in on Jalen. We'll hear Noah on that. I was hunting down Yabu, John.
Of course you were.
Did you get him?
Of course you were. Is that because O'Shea didn't get called up, or
O'Shea wasn't here, so I had to go find Yabu. Do you want to hear what he said? I'll give you a Yabu second.
Yeah, you have 1 second.
Are you going to tell me, or are you sending?
Oh, yeah, I was waiting to hear if you wanted it.
Oh, I thought you were sending it to us. I wasn't sure.
Oh yeah, we can play it later. But yeah, that's what I was doing. So
why hear Bobby do Yabu when you can hear Yabu do Yabu?
That's true.
He doesn't much.
Stick with us for 30 more minutes. You'll hear from Yabu.
We're not doing 30 more minutes. It's 9:48 on a Sunday. Anyway, Noah. We lost Jake Eisenberg. We almost lost Noah during this game, who was getting a little bit of despair. She was trashing Tatum left and right. It was ugly on Twitter. But then came back and said this might have been the win of the year. So what's your vibe on this game? Good win, or what the F are they doing falling down 26 to this team? Which is the over? I mean, I know the answer, but just
what do you think, John?
Give me the percentage. Are you 90% happy, 10% annoyed, or it's a 50-50? What was this?
I'm going to say 75-25.
Happiness pie here.
Happy pie.
75 because I do think that being able to withstand being down 26 with 3 minutes to go on the road is really impressive. And to be able to, I feel like teams a lot of times will cut it to 5 and then they run out of steam, but they just kept going. And then ultimately it wasn't even like a multiple possession game at the end. Like it was kind of over with a few minutes to go. So it was impressive. That being said, they got hot. Like they really got hot. It was a huge heater. And I feel like some of that was just luck, and you can't build around that, and you can't assume that that's going to happen over and over again. So I'm going to give them a little bit of a knock just on the fact that they made like 7 of 8 threes. And so had that not happened, had they made 3 of 8, like we wouldn't be here. But they were due for one. So I can't criticize. They were due for a good shooting night, and they were wide open. They were literally wide open looks. So it wasn't like they were making some crazy shots. And I was really impressed with what they did to Tyrese Maxey in the second half. That was maybe like the number one thing I took away was they can stop Tyrese Maxey when they really, really try and they really, really focus.
Yeah.
And that was good to see.
So that's kind of thing, right? Because, I went through an emotional roller coaster during the game and then maybe the first 20 to 30 minutes of this show. So I'll give you the slight version of it. I loved everything that I saw late. And actually, Jason Tatum said it, is the process began before the results came a little bit. And you could see that. But they weren't moving forward, and you were very close to pull the plug time, and then they go on that little stretch late and they get it into the teens there at the end of the third quarter, and then from there completely took off. But when you see the way they played Maxey, and we keep highlighting those 2 plays late where Jason Tatum locks him up in the corner, gets the shot block, and then Holiday on the play that ended up getting reviewed is hounding him relentlessly on the perimeter, and not letting him get any space and no breathing room. And you're like, where the F was that? So like, it was great to watch, but then I guess where I got stuck was I'm frustrated, wondering if you can do that, why aren't you doing that? Because the most frustrating thing about Tatum sucked in the first half. He was getting backdoored. He was passive. He was walking around. He was really not into it. And then he probably played as close to a perfect game as you can play over the last 15 minutes or so. And it looked effortless, like he was playing with children. It literally looked like, oh, we'll scrimmage the freshmen and I'll just do whatever the hell I want to do. And that's what he did. And I don't understand it. So I leave it both impressed and annoyed. And I can't reconcile those two things, because where was that? And I'm glad Tatum gave us some insight into Joe's, that Joe called him out a little bit and said, you guys, are you sleepy? You want to take a break? What's going on with you guys? And I'm glad that they responded.
I'm very glad that they responded. That to me is the thing that really stands out, because it's one thing if Joe says stuff, but the whole problem we had with Brad.
Is there a didgeridoo going on behind Noah there? What was that?
No, there was just vacuuming, so I didn't know how loud it was. So if somebody else wants to talk next, it might be a good time for somebody else to chime in until this moves a little further away.
It sounded like a didgeridoo. All right, go ahead.
What was the problem we had with Brad in the end, John? Is that we felt like the players tuned him out and that they weren't listening to him, and that there was nothing he could really do to get them to play at the level we all expected. So it's good to hear that Joe is at a point with his team where he can call them out and they respond. It didn't happen right off the bat in that second half, obviously, but they did, clamp down on defense, and that kind of sparked. I think it was Jaylen Brown, or it was Joe who said that Jaylen Brown.
There's Jake.
Did something on the defensive end, and that kind of like,
Jake, we're not letting you off the hook.
Turn the
We
time.
almost lost them.
Jake, we're not letting you off the hook. We saw
John,
you.
what about you saying to take the starters out? Where would he be right now?
But
Where
I
would he
do
be right
that.
now? They listen to you.
That's
on brand.
I know.
That's what I do.
But I did bookmark it when it happened, and I was like, I'll go back
I put up
to
a blame. Oh, is that what my bookmarks are? It's Noah to be able to come back and call that shit out later. I get like one bookmark per tweet.
Yeah.
And I will say, Bobby called the win. Did he already tell you guys? Bobby called the win when they were down.
I called it too at 14. At 14,
yeah, 14
I called it on our chat.
Pretty good.
I said they're winning this one.
You said you're gonna win this game and be pissed about it.
Yeah, now that's the difference. John's pissed about it. I'm happy, but
yeah,
we both.
I'm not pissed. I'm conflicted.
Yeah, it's complicated. The relationship.
I'm happy because I was scared of what the show was going to be if they lost by 30 to the no players 76.
I just said it was going to be.
Honestly, I didn't.
I
didn't want to come on with you if they won, but I'm here. Okay. So we have to face our demons here. We have to go through it.
To your point, Jimmy, I never, even through all my concerns the last 20 games, felt like he lost the team to any degree, because they're still doing the things he wants them to do. It feels like guys are still in line with, the messaging after every game. Even after that Lakers game, you got Kristaps, who's been about as vocal as anyone, saying, I feel like we're playing better. I feel like we're turning it around here. So you never felt too heavily like guys were veering off the path or at least his messaging and the optimism he's tried to portray through a lot of this. But again, I do like that he challenged them as aggressively as he did here in this one, because it was a disgrace. That's what I sent at one point, John. It was awful what we were watching out there. And again, so much of it is the defensive commitment, through these rough stretches. And it's been a long, rough stretch for them right now, offensively shooting the ball. But we know that what we saw late third, fourth quarters, who they can be offensively. And they've fallen so short of that. The blow-bys early in this game, off the dribble, Maxey getting wherever he wanted, Yabu shooting threes uncontested, just all the stuff we've watched over the last handful of weeks here was at its worst for 2.5 quarters until they started hitting shots. And if that's what it's going to take for them to re-engage on that end, along with Joe's challenge, all the better. I think this could be an important win that we look back on and say, all right, that's what got them right.
Mm-hmm. Facts, my dog.
I had that feeling. This is the first time during this last month that I felt like this win could signal
a little bit last win too.
Really? I didn't necessarily.
Against just the way it ended. Just the way it ended.
Yeah.
Especially for Tatum. But again, he didn't come out great the first time.
Tatum had a great game, John.
What?
John's distracted by the airplane flying around here.
Is it loud? I can go quiet for a little.
Tatum had a great finish to the game. Yes, he did. He did.
Great fourth quarter. Definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, anything else in this game that you guys, after the game, any players?
Yeah, and Noah, did Jalen say anything? Because we can play some of that while we wait for the distractions to go away. Anything positive off of that?
Jalen actually said a couple things.
All right, I'm going to play it. Should I play it?
Jalen. Yeah, play Jalen.
Jalen, what do you attribute the game kind of turning around there in the late third quarter?
Just mindset. Found a way to get some stops. They missed some shots. And we just got out and kind of just rallied together. But it was just nothing but mindset. That's all it was.
When you make a few shots in a row like that to end a quarter, is it almost a bigger momentum boost? And if it happens, just at a different point in the game when you see the lead go from, 25 or 26 to 11 in a quick span like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's the NBA. On any given night, teams can, it's enough talent where teams can play really well. But we're the better team, and we just had to stick with it. They were trying to mix it up and give credit to Nick Nurse. He had his guys prepared, and they kind of threw some different coverages at us to try to slow us down. But once we just start just playing basketball, forget about, what covers they're in, forget about, the referees, just come out and play. The game will take care of itself.
Were you guys saying anything to each other, or was it just a collective understanding that?
Everybody was, just stick with it. Let's stick with it. Even though we were down, we felt like we can get back in, just, stay together, and we was able to rally back.
Do you have any sense, like you're down 26 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter? It's been a long, kind of grueling stretch. Do you have a sense how close you were, like the threshold of, all right, let's just call this a night and kind of keep?
We knew if we can get within 10, that we would be fine. So that was the whole thing, in the third quarter, going into the fourth. Once we got to that 10 to 12 kind of range, we were in striking distance. So, I played the rest of the second half. JT played, the whole second half, and we just did what it took to get a win.
Joe said he was watching your guys' body language, and he felt good. Like that's something that would be common. What did you feel? What did you see in the other guys? And kind of where you guys were at?
It was just mindset. First half was it was too many things that was just not important that was affecting us, affecting me,
affecting me.
Expecting calls or whatever. Even against a team like this, they can't stop me. So, what am I looking around for? Just play basketball and let the rest take care of itself. It'll even itself out. And I feel like our team kind of took that mindset in the second half and just stayed with it and, played through it. Even through some of the mistakes, and we ended up being able to put a nice stretch together and come back.
Joe said during the regular season there's a few special games that usually you get. You said this was one of those. Did that feel like for you, this is a memorable one, or just coming back from such a significant deficit?
I think so. Just how easy it is to just call it a night and just throw the subs in and just come up with some type of excuse to get a media or whatever. You know, we rallied back. We put the effort in.
That was the
We turned
one.
it up. We stayed together. Up with some type of excuse to get a media.
Just coming back from such a significant deficit.
I think
I had to
so.
rewind it.
Just how easy it is to like,
Go off the lower third,
just
John. I want to see your
call it
face.
a night and just, throw the subs in and just come up with some type of excuse to get a media or whatever. We
That is great.
rallied back,
Get a
put the
what?
effort in. We turned it up. We stayed together, and we persevered through a win. Even though I know we probably shouldn't have been down that much in the first place, but I think it's a credit to us that like we was able to kind of get it back on track in a hostile environment.
Clamp down on Maxey. in the
No
second
best
half.
shot.
How did you do that, and then what can you take from that into?
So what he said, an excuse to get
said-
a media?
No, okay.
Give
okay.
to the
He said-
media.
He said we were almost at the point where we were just going to put in the bench and then we'd come up with some excuse to say to the media. And then we came back and won.
Yeah, which is what they've been
And
doing.
when I know, when I heard that, I was like, ooh, I should not. Yeah. I was like, John.
That was
that's
my
like-
entire Twitter feed. I was I
Yeah,
was listing the
your poll.
excuses. My Twitter poll, and then the pull the starters. Even
Wow,
Jake
the
said pull the
Sixers usually
starters.
don't play like this.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
Diablo's gonna get 20 something. We'll
Yeah,
give
right,
it to
right.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oubre, he hasn't played like that in years.
Wow, I think something really changed tonight, John.
Yeah, I like that.
Right?
I like both of it. I like that. I like Tatum's stuff. Some good insight. I like that Joe got on their ass. I think it's great.
Yeah, some accountability. That's what we've been
I love it.
clamoring for
And
here.
I know I
Accountability.
heard Noah say in there where he said me, and that was right. I mean, even the broadcast called them. Even the broadcast called that out. Like I was following along with on BSJ. Corrales doing his live chat. He even and he's very level-headed normally, and he's like, that pisses me off to no end. He's like, never in the history of basketball has a ref ever been like, you know what? I'm going to change it right now. Like, it
Yeah.
never yielded
That was
a
a bad
result.
one.
It's never yielded a result. And that one drives me nuts too. And Tatum, I think, you don't catch Brown doing it that much. Tatum, it's a constant thing that he battles through. And I thought he got a good bit better with it last year, and he let it seep back in this year like crazy. So those things are bad. And you're right. Just stop. There's so many things you can control and so many things you can't. When shots aren't falling and you're getting open looks, sometimes there's nothing you can do about that. But the things you can control, the effort, the defense, not complaining to the refs and jogging down and letting the other team get out and transition off of your misses, not getting pouty and sulky when your shots aren't falling and having it completely affect how you play the rest of your game and your process. That stuff, everyone's human. It can creep in and out. It just can't be a recurring problem, that these guys have to get over. And Noah, that was my only other, not beef, but concern. Does it always have to go hand in hand with making shots to feel better about how it is that you're playing? Like, is there ever a game where they'll climb fully back with defense? And maybe this was one of them. Maybe they did up that defensive intensity a little bit in the third. We just weren't noticing because the game remained a 20-something point game.
Well,
and maybe they had started making that effort already, and that is a little clawed back into it.
I think it did change with the shots because Tatum got back cut pretty bad by Oubre on a 3-point play. They go down 25 late in the third there. And then that's when they set up a couple of threes for White. And then, you get Porzingis a touch, but, Yabu's still dunking on them and, they're still giving up baskets the other way. So I do think the shooting swung before the defense. But the defense in the fourth was great. And that pass, 10 the third, I know you pointed out, Noah, in real time, was a big play. They got one more basket there at the end of the third, brought it from like 16 to 14. And then that's when, John and I were like, oh, they're going to do this. So good stretch to close the third there. It was mostly offensive, but the defense came around a big way in the fourth. Those possessions, again, Tatum, that's the stuff he can do. That's what you expect him to do. And that, when we're sitting there and we're like, oh, they're just bored, regular season, blah, blah, blah. They're capable of a lot more than we've watched in recent weeks. And that's why it's been so frustrating to watch.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think that was why I do put a tiny asterisk next to the comeback, because they like I said, they got on a huge heater. But I loved the shots that they took. It wasn't like all of a sudden Tatum was having one of those nights where he's hitting contested threes with hands in his face, and it's like, oh, great that happened, but that's not necessarily like sustainable for the future. They were running their process to a T, like getting the exact 3-point shots that honestly they don't always get. I thought they had them the whole game tonight, but their offense looked very different to me. That even when they weren't making them, like Hauser was getting wide open looks. Every shot they made in the second half was a wide open. Maybe Tatum had one contested one, but they were really good looks. But I do want to say, Joe brought this up post game, and I didn't see the exact play, but he said there was one play in the beginning of the third quarter where Jaylen Brown guarded Tyrese Maxey, and basically just like with a completely different level of intensity, and it sent out the message this half is going to be different. And I don't know if me and Joe were thinking about the same play, but I did get that feeling really early on, and it didn't translate to them going on a run because the deficit kept growing. But there was this feeling of like Tyrese Maxey just started the game with zero pressure. Like he was able to just do exactly what he wanted to do, get to his spots. And in the second half, they weren't cutting the deficit, but it was different on that front. And then Yabu was a different story. But I do think the perimeter defense took a leap out of halftime. Like Joe probably talked to Jaylen and Drew in particular and kind of called them out. And I think we hear sometimes about the Joe call outs, like we heard it from Tatum today, but just because we don't usually hear about them, I don't think they're not happening necessarily. I think
again, though,
Tatum
too much public letting them off the hook, though, I think counteracts it, even if it is happening.
It actually doesn't bother me. I really keep going back to it. I really think that's a fan thing or a media thing. I don't think it has anything to do with what's happening and what matters. It's just nice to know it, because then you don't find yourself wondering. I actually think it's cathartic for members of the chat who were like, "Oh God, I'm so glad to hear that." Because it's nice to know that he gets in on them, and it's nice to know that like everyone will make fun of me. I'm getting beat up on Twitter for like my bad take exposed. The entire universe was thinking bench these losers right now, including their coach. So like, it's not insane. He's watching what he's seeing. It's nice to know that he's seeing what you're seeing.
Glad he's acknowledging it. Yeah.
It validates you a little bit, because people are watching this and like, it's the Sixers without anybody, and you're getting just destroyed by Gershon Yabusele here. And like, and watching them look like they don't care. Everyone's thinking the same thing. Do they care? And get them out of there. If they don't, I'm tired of watching this. And Joe thought the same thing. So again, it makes me feel a little better that he's seeing what you're seeing. And he challenged them, and they accepted it, which again is also
he has to do it. Maybe he has been doing it, but
the worst thing is if he doesn't. And Jimmy mentioned earlier, who knows how much Brad challenged them, and who knows how much they didn't care. You have to imagine Brad was pulling his hair out trying to figure out how to get them to play in his final season, and he couldn't do it.
Yeah, that was obviously a different group, different challenges. So
it was, but again, you're always going to look at the Tatum. If they go as far as Tatum and Brown take them, if those guys are going all out all the way through and playing their best, cleanest basketball, they're not going to lose games, and everyone else is going to follow suit. You'll live with some bad shooting nights, but it's always those two, and it's always been those two, and they go as they go. Yeah.
Jimmy's point earlier was important. They're still bought in, and they've been bought in even through this rough stretch here. And that's important because, I've made the 2023 comparison a million times. I don't think the buy-in was strong that year. I think it was loose, tentative. It was based on the hot shooting. And when that faded, a lot of stuff crumbled into those postseasons and the mistakes that they made and lineup changes and all that stuff. So that doesn't exist this year, at least as far as I can see. And that gives you good hope that they're going to be able to figure it out here. And again, you got to extend this over a couple weeks here and, be more consistent. Because if they come out, I can't imagine they'll come out flat against Cleveland, just given the magnitude of that game. But if they do, you're just going to be like, oh, here they go again. So you just stack them up. That's what we want to see right now.
See, this is, by the way, Noah, this is the effect I have on some people. Over time, I
keeps poking.
I feel like I don't agree. I agree with you on most things, and then it's the same like 3 things that we disagree on. But everything else, I agree with you.
I wear people down. Hey, so I'll let you guys, if you want a quick bite at the apple and you want to get into the Luka Doncic stuff, I know we could go off the rails here. Bobby and I have talked about it at length. Jimmy and I addressed it briefly in the show, but Noah, I know you farmed your take out to Jack and how about them C's, and that's okay. We're not upset or offended, but
we weren't broadcasting last night, John.
The Garden Report
I
audience
would have
didn't
gone
get,
on.
the Garden Report audience didn't get a chance to hear anything. So I know your take has evolved as time has gone on a little bit, but now that you've had the benefit of almost 24 hours to have it marinate, where are you on it?
Yeah, I do think that just from a franchise, I underestimated the connection that the city had with Luka. I think because I'm personally really not connected to him as a player. Like I really don't like his game. I think watching him in the playoffs, he's one of the few stars that I don't have like awe for in the way that I think most people probably do. So I think I had a little bit of personal bias that maybe boggled my view a little bit of this trade that made me think, you get Anthony Davis, he's a great defender, but I just don't think the Mavericks have enough to win a championship with this current group. So it's like it almost makes sense to me from that standpoint. If Kyrie was like 3 years younger and like a little bit more consistent, and then you think to yourself, you got this big two and whatever, you have a better defense. But I guess I'm just kind of, I guess to say I didn't feel the same shock that everybody else felt. Like the Lakers fleeced the Mavs. I did not at all have that instinct. But as time has passed, my take has evolved a little bit to acknowledge the fact that Luka is only 25 and that a lot of the things that bother me about his game now could get better. And in that case, the Mavs will look pretty bad in a few years.
Is it possible he's being judged on a I mean, what standard can you judge like a player like him to still say he has room for growth when last year he averaged 34, 9, and 10 and took this team to the finals? And despite being out of shape and his defensive deficiencies, he also shot 49-39 last year. And despite his defensive deficiencies, the Mavericks still were the third best defensive team in basketball. So how much better can you possibly be from an offensive standpoint? This is arguably, this might be the best offensive player in a generation in terms of what he himself can do, in terms of having total control of every aspect of the offense. And you're talking about a flipped switch away from at least playing Sam Hauser level defense, which wouldn't be a problem. You know what I mean? It's like, that's not that far.
I don't think they
did
did
go this far to get to a passable level of defense.
They must think he's going the other direction, though. That must be what's happening behind the scenes.
I don't think that's what it is.
They clearly want to get out of the Luka business.
Yes,
for whatever
that's what
reason.
it is. They want to get it out from under him. And so that's,
but
I think
whether they don't believe he'll get in shape, whether they don't believe he's going to change, whether they think he's an asshole, there's something. There's got to be something.
So,
but whatever it is, it's not enough. Like that's not enough reason.
I think
to
we
make
all
this
agree
trade.
that they shouldn't have done it. My only disagreement with the consensus is that the return was enough. If you're going to do it, and I wouldn't have done it.
That's what I said. I think they got about
enough.
40% of the return they'd get if they shopped him. I mean, I guess from
a standpoint.
I look at it as asset management. You may be slightly better this year, but between this should have been.
Would you have taken a lesser player and more picks?
I would have taken two lesser younger players and more picks. No question. Like I said, the Bridges Cam Johnson plus 4 picks deal for Durant, I think is the starting point for someone like that. But also 1.5 times more because Durant was 34 when that trade was made, and Luka's 20-5. So you're talking about, the type of player that comes around every whatever many years, who even through his flaws, he's still a top 3 player in the NBA. And at 25 years old, this is your franchise for 10 years. Teams would be falling over themselves to make this kind of deal. So I don't understand the return at all. That's what gets me above all else. I agree with all of the negative things that can be said about Luka. That's not reason enough to trade him. It's really that you just take advantage of it. Other teams don't give a crap that he doesn't play defense. Like, that's your problem. They're like, oh my God, Luka, and they'll give you anything you want. So they could have gotten a lot there.
No, I don't think it was about the defense. It might have been part of the reason, but again, no, Davis is awesome. Top 10 player. I think the shade toward his game is, tinted people's view a little bit of what they're getting here. They're getting a MVP caliber player.
He had a ridiculous season last year and led the team to the finals. What are we doing with this recency bias? He's hurt, and we forgot how good Luka is. It's crazy. we forgot what he did last year. That season is historically good. Last year, he's made 5 first-team All-NBA. He's 25 years old. I mean, the Luka I get what Noah's saying. I don't love his game. He's ball dominant. He takes his teammates a little bit out of it. He's controlling every aspect of everything while everyone else is kind of standing around. The defense not being in shape. There's a lot to not like. He's a baby. It complains all the time. Like, I get it.
But he's 25.
But he's 25 and he's
25. They didn't want to play him as Supermax.
So before the game, we were in the locker room and we were asking a bunch of the players like their thoughts, and Porzingis kept being like, he's 25. Like you could tell that was something that he was kind of hung up on. And then Jalen was the one that was like, I'm not that surprised. He kind of like explained to me like
that was
he
so
was saying,
funny.
Yeah. But he was saying, I was talking about it before the game too, and he was like, this is just kind of how what happens. Like he was talking about it like it was not this like 2 superstar trade that everybody else's mind was blown by. I don't know. I guess I just don't believe in the Mavs as currently constructed. And I don't really believe in Luka as like a player you want to build around ideally. Like maybe you have to, but I'd rather not if I was a general manager. So to me, I was like, I get where they're coming from in that sense. But I understand why. Like I saw the trade. I tweeted out last night. I think the Mavs won the trade. I went to bed. I woke up this morning. I scrolled my feed and I was like, okay, I'm gonna rethink this. And I do understand why. And honestly, watching Nico Harrison talk and give his
fumble
reasoning,
around,
I was like, I cannot be on that guy's team. Like I have to be on a different team than that guy. So
the Luka, yeah, that's fair, Jake. That's fair. The Luka revenge tour when he just goes and gets his own personal private LA chef and loses 30 pounds and literally attracts every available superstar to one of the 2 destinations where everybody wants to play. The Lakers are going to be a dynasty for years now here. This is the dumbest thing I've ever, it's happening. Like,
I'm not a believer.
You just lined
You're
yourself
a long
up.
way from that right now.
But they have the most important piece. They have the guy, right? It's all about being able to center it
If you
around.
have the wrong guy, it's almost worse.
But you're saying he's the wrong guy. He's a top 2-3 player in the NBA. He's one of the best scorers in the NBA. Generational talent. From a business perspective, too. I mean, the Mavs, we talked about it earlier in the show. The Mavs just totally
It's a no-brainer for the Lakers. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It's an absolute no-brainer. And if you think that they dig in enough, let me ask you this. If you think Tatum and Luka are comparable players, how would you feel if that was a return for a player like Jason Tatum?
That's why you don't do it. It'd be people crying in the streets, like, and
Well,
that's
also
what
they
it
just
is
won the
in Dallas.
championship.
Yeah.
Well, let's say they didn't.
Concept.
Even if they didn't.
Yeah.
It'd be like trading Tatum for Durant or Tatum for Curry or something.
I mean, there's people out there that wouldn't
It
trade
doesn't make
Brown
sense.
for Anthony Davis. There's people out there that might not want to do that. So
maybe not.
Yeah. The fact is, I know, but the fact is that if you're a Mavericks fan, I would completely understand if you need to take some time away from the team, maybe permanently. Like
it's like Mookie, right?
It's like that, but even worse. Yeah. I mean, and again, is it coming down? Is this a money thing? They didn't want to pay him the Supermax. They knew that they were going to have to. And is that what we're talking about here? Is just making sure that billionaire doesn't have to pay more taxes, so they're getting out of it and they're bringing on a guy that they don't have to pay as much. Like there's so many other pieces to this because we're all trying to figure out why. And maybe
we still don't have it.
More information. Maybe we'll.
I thought there'd be more.
Out. But
right
now,
we're still waiting for that really good like Athletic or ESPN story where there's like 9 reporters on the case and it's like 5,000 words.
I thought it was so telling too. I don't know if you guys played the sound.
The Van Natta, the Seth Wickersham. Somebody's got to get in there.
Right. There's got to be more to it because it doesn't.
Al,
make
who's
sense.
usually just going to give you like a political canned answers.
He was like, "Wow,
I have no idea why they did that."
Wow.
Right. We're all trying to figure it out.
He just kept saying it. The other, we got to talk about it briefly because I haven't even had a chance to digest it. But this one,
yeah,
what a night in NBA.
This one doesn't affect it's not as big of an effect, but it's a pretty big trade. And the Spurs are honestly very quickly turning into a legit
things
team.
moving.
Yeah, and they've got assets too. They still have assets even after they
3
acquired
Hawks
Fox.
picks. 3 future Hawks picks. I don't know if they were involved in this deal, but yeah, they're scary right now.
But honestly,
especially
like,
when you consider what Wembanyama's doing. Hey, John,
the Kings got
who
3
scares you
firsts.
more long term? The Spurs or the Lakers? Come on.
I mean, look, Wemby is the number one single greatest asset in the NBA right now by miles. So I said it at the beginning of the year, like talking about Tatum ascending to MVP. I was like, it's not just the guys he's chasing. Like Wemby's going to be a top 3 MVP player for the rest of his life, if not win 7 or 8. Like the window is closed on the MVP thing because Wemby's going to take over the league if not by this year, by next year and beyond. So yeah, look, he's past Luka in terms of like the number one. He's not a complete player yet, but you're absolutely right. Like
second year in, yeah, of course.
This is the horse you want to bet on, but also it's San Antonio, and versus Los Angeles. You have to take the geography into consideration here. People want to play in LA. People are going to want to play with Luka. So yeah, at present, the Spurs are a better looking roster overall than what the Lakers are. But we're talking about, again, Luka being 25 years old and you having another 6, 7, 8, 10 years to surround him with everything you want to surround him with. It's happening. Luka's not going to be playing as the only good player in that city for very long.
I mean, both those
we'll see
teams,
what happens with
Spurs
LeBron.
and Lakers, are going to both be legit.
But the Spurs are
both
coming
teams
for
can-
sure. They
Spurs
might already be
are
here, but
legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Fox and Wemby are going to be a very fun like combination. I don't know what happens to Chris Paul, but that's going to be a fun one for the future.
Looks
for
like
them.
Paul stayed, huh?
I mean, San Antonio got to keep so many
my guy
people
Sabonis, though.
in this. Yeah.
That's a good trade for them. I don't know what the Bulls got out of this. The Bulls, I would be so hopeless and
Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Herter, a 2025 pick, and cap relief.
City Sissoko, yeah. But they kept a lot of their core.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, Levine's had an awesome year. Yeah.
Doesn't look like
the
they traded those
Kings
Hawks
get
picks
Levine,
either.
Sissoko, 3 first-round picks.
They
The
did
only
great.
thing I was going to say on the previous trade, I forgot, but I'm a huge Max Christie fan. And I feel like, obviously, in this trade, there's bigger conversations.
Gary said that earlier, too.
Oh, the Gary is? Yeah, I'm a huge. I almost feel like I didn't even want to say it because it's a little too in character for the kinds of players I like. But
no, Gary was like, "That's a good pickup."
Okay, yeah, he's a great, and he's just like nobody really mentions him, but I think that he has the potential to be a really, really solid NBA player. So, we'll see.
Yeah, you tell that to Mavs fans.
I don't think I'm going to.
So maybe he'll wear 77.
That'll definitely help them. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just crazy. Dallas was so lucky to go from Dirk to Luka, like the international superstar, like
I know
all that, and they just like fumbled it.
Then you had Brunson and Luka, and at one point you had Brunson, Luka, and Porzingis.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I mean, Mark Cuban obviously doesn't. I don't think Mark Cuban makes this trade, so I don't think Mark Cuban has really much of a say in anything going on over there.
I do like John's point earlier, though. Belichick would have made.
He would have.
It was
one
a
of the things
Belichick kind of move.
One of the knocks on Belichick was that he wouldn't shop around. And that would be the thing. And the vibe would be like, hey, I'm looking to trade. I'm looking to trade Jimmy G. What would you give me for him? And San Francisco's like, a second. He's like, good. All right, get it done. And like, without calling anybody else, they'd be like, you're like, what? I wanted to get rid of him. That's what they gave me. I thought that was a good enough return without checking if anybody else liked
That's what
anything
the
else.
Mavs did here. Again, though, I think they did. Okay.
That's the story. That's the second story. The one, why wanting to get out of the Luka business in general, and 2, why only the Lakers. I'm almost more interested with the second one. Because the first one feels to me like ownership trade, cold feet from an owner who's new and has come in there and said, and it's a new NBA world, and you're giving out $350-400 million to these guys, and he's thinking, I don't want to do it for this guy. But also, I want you to trade him, but I don't want to get worse because we're not rebuilding because we went to the finals last year, and that limits your options because you can't go get ascending players and picks without taking a step back. So you have to get somebody that might help you win now, which is why people can justify the basketball portion of the trade, but not the overall return and not what you gave up there. So I don't know, but I really want to know why it was just the Lakers. I'm really, really confused by that for sure.
That doesn't make any sense to me either at all.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that's that. But interesting night. between
One
all
other
of the
thing,
things that
too.
happened.
The Butler put the kibosh on Golden State, apparently.
Yeah, that's another
think
piece of
anyone
info.
cares about Butler
Sorry,
anymore.
Jimmy. Nobody gives a shit about you right now.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, Jimmy's trying. He's like, I'm a star.
I'm still here.
Trying to get traded.
I didn't know what Jimmy you were talking about. I was like, damn.
Oh yeah,
I'm
the
a
other Jimmy.
star, and I'm trying to get traded, and all this stuff's happening. Someone pay attention to me.
Yeah.
You're more relevant right now, Jimmy.
I am.
It's true.
And it's gonna stay that way.
Yeah.
We see you every night.
That's right.
For
I
most
show
nights.
up. I'll play for my team, Proud to.
Jimmy, you know where Jimmy lands on this? Jimmy considered today a hard hat victory. And again, hard to argue when the Celtics erased a 26-point deficit in 8 minutes. In 8 minutes, just a little over 8 minutes, they erased it. They ended up winning, going away 118-110. I think it was their 5th 25-point comeback victory. I thought I saw the stat pop up on the screen.
Yep.
So they improved 35-15. Big game coming up against Cleveland, which again, multiple circles on the calendar here, guys. Feeling good about it coming off of this one. I actually think that would this be different if they lost this one heading into that game?
Yeah, like I said, red panic meter. But Cavs are missing Wade, missing Okoro, missing I think LeVert came back tonight, but he's been out a little while.
Man,
Good
you love
opportunity to
yourself
beat
some
them.
Wade. Yeah.
He's their best perimeter defender, I'd say. They don't have a
Wade.
lot of perimeter defense.
Yeah.
So I think Celtics in a good position to win this game.
Yeah.
It'll be a good one. We'll be there.
All
When
right,
is this
Bobby
game?
and Noah, Tuesday. Bobby and Noah headed to Cleveland Tuesday. We'll have a full house here on the show.
And
Who
the
knows what the
Mavericks
hell's going to happen?
Thursday.
And then is the trade deadline Thursday?
3:00, yeah.
So we've got
Wow, it's gonna
Thursday.
be busy.
Tatum for Luka. They could right before the game. That's going to happen right then and there.
Lakers might not be done. I saw Windy on ESPN say they need a center.
Oh, they
so-
can't be. They don't have a center right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So more.
Oh God,
Trades to come
go hug your Lukes right now, Bobby. Go lock
Luke
lock
has
down Luke.
Luke has a no trade clause, John. We're all set.
I know. Go lock.
It's so
go,
crazy that he has a no trade clause. It's so crazy.
go lock him up.
Yeah.
It
How
is
does he
hilarious
have
that
one
he
in
does.
and Luca doesn't?
Rob, what,
Only 3 players have one, right?
No, a bunch
Yeah,
of guys
just
have them on the 1-year deal, but
Oh.
only Beal and I think LeBron. Does LeBron have one?
I think LeBron has one.
yeah,
Probably.
it's
Or
gonna be
else
Rob.
It's like
You
an
guys
or
know
else
it's gonna
one.
be Rob.
You
Oh,
think
that'd
so?
be great.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Give him that opportunity.
If Rob and Luca win it for LA this year, I'm gonna be mad at all of you. I'll
Rob
just
and
tell you that
Luka,
right now.
that'd be awesome.
Lobs all day. Rob's gonna average 18 points a game strictly on lobs from Luca if
Just
those guys
right,
team up.
right in the cylinder.
Yeah, that's it. All game long. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. And all day long we've had stuff on the channel. So again, if you want to go back and look at some of the trade reacts, Gary, Bobby, Sherrod, and I talked about it this morning. You can go check out that and get takes from those other guys as well on the Luka trade. Lots of good football talk coming. Stay tuned tomorrow as CLNS Media heads to the Super Bowl with Taylor and Amit down there in New Orleans,
Nice.
covering the week of the big game. So that should be a lot of fun. Make sure you subscribe to our Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel. Thank you to Noah. Thank you to Bobby. Thank you to Jimmy and all of you guys in the chat for watching. We had again the OGs who returned. We missed you guys.
They're back.
Chat OGs coming
Good
back.
turnout tonight.
Hope you stay with us for the rest of the season. And hopefully this is it, right? Springboard victory,
Yep.
right? If
Definitely.
This is the one.
Big week.
they go, yeah.
This is the one
gonna
that
get
gets
crushed by
John back.
Cleveland now.
John's gonna be
They
back
get
in
the
the
Knicks.
bandwagon.
Knicks later this weekend too, Jimmy. Yeah, huge week.
I'm
huge
easy,
week.
Jimmy. I'm easy. I want to go back. I'm not fighting it. I want to go back. Just show me something. Show me something. String a few together. Let's see what we
We
can
don't
do.
want to be
Anyway,
at home in June. Yeah.
yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you guys again for watching. We will see you on Tuesday. No one's sneaking a vegan brownie by me. I'll tell you that.
Okay, you know what, John? We're gonna do it.
You have to feel that way too, Bobby.
I have to
Same.
feel that
Same
way.
to you.
Let's fight Al over and make Luke your first center.
Bobby, we gave you Luke hour early. We're not going to end this on a damn conversation about Luke